We have some good news from British Columbia to tell you about. The baby orca that was stranded in a lagoon on Vancouver Island is now free. The CBC's Tanya Fletcher is in Vancouver tracking the latest on this story.
Very significant development and around the world too. You know, we've had outlets from all over the world keen to follow this story, and finally some good news to share, some very surprising news for a lot of people as this orphaned whale swam out of this lagoon all on its own. That's what they've been trying to get it to do for more than a month now, and overnight it finally happened. We've been given word from the Ahadasat First Nation that at 2:30 this morning during high tide, Kwesayas, brave little hunter as it's known, passed the sandbar that her mother died on under the bridge and down Little Espinosa Inlet all on her own. So this is really a big deal. That mother had swam into the inlet on March 23rd. She was pregnant at the time, and her 2-year-old calf was with her. The mother wound up beached on that sandbar during low tide and wound up dying despite the efforts of dozens of locals to try to save her. This is in a remote area. You can see on this map, Zabelas. This is on the northern point of Vancouver Island. And just getting there, getting the crews there, the equipment, the tactical gear, all of that has been a real challenge. And so this really is, as we say, significant news. So it swam out to Little Espinosa Inlet, and now they're saying after an evening of feeding her, the team saw it breaching and playing at the end of the lagoon near the bridge, and after almost everyone had left to go and get some sleep, the small group that remained stood and witnessed to watch her swim under that bridge and down to the inlet. This morning, they say they'll encourage her to go further out into the open ocean, where it's hoped her calls will now be heard by her family. So that's still what we're waiting for, but definitely some good news.
So she swam free after all of this, after a month of rescue attempts, Tanya.
Yeah, and it took a month of planning. You know, we've had the DFO, we've had the local First Nation, we've had volunteers. The Vancouver Aquarium has sent marine mammal experts. I mean, this really has been a hands-on attempt. And exactly 2 weeks ago today is when they proceeded with a very complex, intricate, delicate attempt to try and lift the whale out on their own. So they had a giant net. They were going to lift it by crane in this net onto basically a giant flatbed truck, and then transport her kind of across the bridge and then somehow lower her possibly by boat out into the water so she'd hopefully swim out on her own and meet up with her pod. But 2 weeks ago, that attempt was suspended. It essentially failed because the whale didn't want to swim into the nets. They really couldn't corral her to start that whole process. So they were kind of back at square one. And last we heard they were still trying to come up with plan B to see what would happen next in trying to get this whale out. So some surprising news. Everyone in Zabelas waking up and across BC, and as you say, the country, to hear that she swam out on her own. This was after about a week of, they said she was taking seal meat that they'd been trying to feed her. So that was good news. And as we said today, they said that she'd been playing, breaching. So that was also some positive signs. They do say they're now in a new phase. And while the team is ecstatic, they'll be having increased patrols and protective measures to make sure that she has no contact with boats or people. So that's where we look to now. Will she reunite with her pod? Will they still be in the area, kind of further out in the ocean? And will they be able to find each other and reunite? So some good news at this point, but still a lot more to follow in the days to come.
The CBC's Tanya Fletcher in Vancouver.